What's up, guys? Welcome to today's episode of the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. More, I guess it's actually would be this week's. We do one episode a week with you guys. We got a guy named Keith Krikorian on the podcast with us today. So I remember I didn't really notice at the time because, like, when I was competing at the trials in 2018, he was competing as well. He took second. I ended up taking third that weekend, and so I was too busy competing to even really pay attention. But at the trials this past year, when I was there coaching my student and watching the trials, I saw this dude in the lower division, the 66 kilo division, just tearing through people. And I was like, man, who is this guy? I was like, I don't know who this guy is. And then I looked him up and I was like, oh man, this guy's like really, really good. And I looked at some of his stuff and I really enjoyed watching his game. He was aggressive for the submission. And even sometimes when he didn't get the submission, he was fun to watch. And so for me, this is going back to that trials experience. I was like, well, I sort of made a list of people. I was like, I want to try to get some of these guys on the podcast because I just like watching their jiu-jitsu. And so it's fun to talk to people that have good jiu-jitsu that I enjoy watching. And so this is where he came from. So before we jump into it, just kind of letting you guys know something that we'll kind of bring up. He ended up placing third or second at the trials multiple times. So if I'm correct, I'm going to look over right here. He ended up placing at the trials, I believe it was 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
Or 3 times at second place, both 2018, 21, and then 19 at the East Coast and West Coast Trials. And then this past year, 21, but at 22, he did the West Coast Trials and took first place for the first time. And so again, having him on the podcast, we're going to talk about obviously the trials and everything else that's leading up to it as he's getting ready for the World Championships in September. And we'll also talk about his start in jiu-jitsu and training and all that jazz. So again, hopefully you guys enjoy this one and you get to hear from a young up-and-coming competitor and kind of how he thinks about jiu-jitsu and how he trains and all that stuff. So I think it'll be valuable to you. So again, thank you guys for being here. And as always, thank you to our sponsors for helping make this thing happen so that we can come and grace your ears every week on Monday. Charles Webb is one of our main sponsors. They've been with us for a long time. And again, that's because Eugene and I both love the product. We've both been using it for what, 3+? No, it's probably about 4 years now.
Yeah.
I started using CBD and I like the product. I really like CBD oil and I liked using it when I got exposed to it. But the only issue for me is I found that company to company, it was very different. I remember having a company send me a bottle of CBD to promote on my YouTube channel. And I remember they had like a pretty lucrative like payment option. They were like, hey, we'll give you this one. I was like, okay, cool. But I used their CBD oil and I didn't like it. I was like, it didn't have the same effect that some of the other CBD oils that I had on me. And then I remember going to, there was a local place that, because I was like, I'll be honest with you guys, I really liked CBD oil when I got a hold of it. I was like, I want to share this with people. There was a local company and they made their CBD oil was pretty good. And I was like, let me work with them. And like, they never did get back with me. I'm like, I want to like share this with people because this is such a good product. And then Charles Webb came along and we use their product and it's really good. And again, it's consistent because it's third-party tested. They do a really good job. When we went out to Colorado to like meet with the people, it was really interesting to hear them talk about how they do everything. And so again, they make a really consistent product that's high quality. And again, it's a great CBD product. So again, if you guys have never tried CBD oil, or if you have and you want a really good company to buy it from, check out Charles Webb. Again, I encourage everybody that hasn't tried it, like just give it a whirl. Try it for a month and see what kind of effect it has on you. Because more than likely, at least from the samples that I give to my students and the experience that I've had, most people end up really liking the product.
Yeah, for sure.
It really helps out. And again, it's one of my, everybody's trying to recover better. It's one of my main supplements that I throw into the recovery sort of bin. It's one of my, as far as supplements go for recovery, it's like up there, the top tier for me personally. And again, you can do so by going to their website at charleswebb.com. Promo code is Jiu-Jitsu20 for 20% off the order. And again, it's a great deal. And you guys can do that now by going to their website. Also, thanks to our sponsor, Epic Roll. EpicRollBJJ.com is the website. Promo code is Jiu-Jitsu15 for 15% off on whatever you buy. The only thing it doesn't apply to is some of his like branded gear, like Mason Fowler or the McDojo stuff. Everything else you can get the discount on. And again, if you guys have never tried his Nogi gear, I really like his Nogi gear. It's very comfortable. He also makes really good t-shirts, good gis. And again, everything that he makes is pretty, I like the designs. Again, that was one of the reasons that was kind of like one of my things. When Matt originally, the guy that runs the website, he originally sent me a bunch of stuff. And like, I've gotten a lot of jiu-jitsu stuff over the time. And sometimes I just don't like it. It's just that I don't like the designs. And again, this isn't necessarily that those designs are bad. It's just my personal preference. I'm kind of a less is more guy. Sometimes I like things that look simple and clean. And Matt had a lot of cool designs that were simple, clean. And like, I didn't feel awkward wearing it in like a daily setting, right? It's like, I feel like it's a t-shirt you can just wear out, you know, when you're just out and about doing stuff. Whereas like sometimes the stuff I would have on, like I would wear it and like I didn't feel like it was a good t-shirt to just hang out in. Anyway, again, that's a me problem, maybe not a you problem, but nonetheless, I think he has great designs on his stuff. It's high quality stuff. And if you want to check him out, go to epicrollbjj.com and the promo code is Jiu-Jitsu for 15% off on the order. And also thanks to our sponsor, Manscaped. You can check them out at manscaped.com. Promo code is Jiu-Jitsu20 for 20% off the order, and you get free shipping. It's a good deal. Again, they are the premier below the belt men's grooming product company out there. Although, I mean, I use their products below my belt. I trim my balls with their trimmer, but I also use it for my beard. And Eugene, you know, recently went shaving on top, and so he shaves his with his trimmer too.
Dude, I put like, they have a little guard. I put like a couple clicks, and I actually started shaving my head with the Manscaped trimmer. It's actually really convenient. I traveled. I didn't want to take my big trimmer. Traveled with it. It was awesome. It works good. It works really well on my head. You know, so it's nice.
On your noggin.
And
yeah. Again, I've used pretty much everything that they have. They've like sent me and Eugene samples of pretty much everything that they've made, from the body washes and the colognes, the soaps, and everything else. It's all good stuff. Again, so if you're interested in some men's grooming products for yourself or for the man in your life, I encourage you to check them out. They make good stuff, high quality products. Everything smells good, and you can check them out at manscaped.com. The promo code is Jiu-Jitsu20 for 20% off the order, and you get free shipping. And also, if you guys want to support the podcast directly, you can do so by going to our Patreon at patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. So there's a THE Jiu-Jitsu podcast, and you can get access to the exclusive content that we have in there. Again, one of the guys that was in there with us today, so we just had like a private chat for the members that are in the Patreon. I was talking to one of the guys, and he has, I guess, a couple of Patreon accounts that he supports. He was like, man, I just like supporting artists, and I like supporting people that are doing this stuff. And he said, he was like, man, you get, for the price, he's like, you get a lot of stuff in here. So again, you know, most of the Patreon members that have been there for a long time. So you can check it out if you want to at patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast and get access to the exclusive content that's in there for a affordable price. And guys, if you want to join my Chew Crew email newsletter, you can do so by going to my website at chewjitsu.net/join, JOIN. By doing that and signing up on that webpage that you'll go to, you'll get access to 3 free Jiu-Jitsu ebooks. And then on top of that, you then get a daily email from me. Now, at that point, you can unsubscribe at any time should you not want to get my emails, and you can keep the ebooks that you got. And so, guys, with that said, let's jump into this podcast with Keith. Thanks for being on, bro. And you know, how's everything going on your end right now? How's your? I know you had a thing with your head, right? Was that during the match where you got slammed or whatever?
Yeah, well, I think it was like maybe partially slam, but I got hit pretty hard like in the match too, because it was combat jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So I got hit pretty hard, and I think I don't know. I think that it just messed me up pretty bad. It was pretty shitty for a few weeks.
Have you had that before? Have you had any like concussion or symptoms?
When I was a kid, I used to get concussions, but like you're like not as good at like being aware of it when you're a kid, you know. So I kind of like remembered the feeling, but I wouldn't have like I'd been able to identify it when I was younger. But now I'm like, okay, it makes sense. Get hit in the face, feel foggy for a few weeks. It makes sense.
Yeah. So do you have like difficulty just concentrating? What kind of stuff were you dealing with? Just for maybe people have never dealt with a concussion.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had like that fogginess was mainly like not being able to focus, feeling tired, somewhat nauseous, and then just like generally like depressed, and which is like, you know, you'll feel that after like losing a match, like regardless, but like this was kind of a different, like it was just like a not being able to get out of bed depressed, you know, which was kind of weird. Because that's normally not like a, you know, like something that I go through. It's and then the other thing that was super it was like my speech was really hard to like form words and shit, which was super. Yeah, I was like self-conscious about that a little bit. Yeah, for sure. That was just shitty. So, but it kind of went away. That was a thing for like 3 weeks, and then it kind of just I don't know if it fixed itself or whatever. I don't know how your brain works, but yeah.
It's so funny. The sort of our consciousness or our understanding of like concussions is so much better now. I remember like in the when I was in high school in like the early 2000s, like 2001, 2, whatever, I got a concussion one day on the practice field, and I didn't know what was going on, but I just remember like there was like a week that was kind of a blur. And I remembered like not really being able to remember what was going on or whatever, didn't really want to eat food, all this stuff. And I remember when I came back to practice after I kind of got my bearings about me, my coach was like, you know, where were you or whatever, you know, I was like, well, coach. And I was explaining what was going on. And basically just, he thought I was being a lazy, like dumbass teenager and made me run sprints after training was over in the hot sun. It's like, all right, we're doing wind sprints, you know, as a punishment. Nowadays they'd be like, all right, we got to keep you off the field for a little bit.
Yeah, they'd be a lot more cautious now, I'd hope, at least.
Is that, do you think that's something that's going to deter you from doing combat jiu-jitsu in the future?
Nah. I mean, I don't know. I kind of have a chip on my shoulder, you know, now, so it's like I wanna at least like get one back, you know. In what form that'll take, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like a better lesson for me to like, because I was like kind of not expecting to get hit. I don't know. I just kind of wasn't thinking about it. And like, I think it's a better lesson is like, all right, understand what you're getting into, you know?
Sure. Well, that's the thing too. A lot of times you know, with combat jiu-jitsu, it's like open hand striking. And it doesn't seem like that bad, right?
Yeah.
And then until you get hit with it, you know, I think I even kind of like poked fun at it like the first time I saw it. But then like, you know, when someone knows how to use like an open hand strike, I mean, they could do some damage.
Yeah, for sure.
So, man, how are you feeling coming up for the ADCC?
Man, I feel all right. Not like things. The camp hasn't been going like too great. I just keep getting injured. My weight isn't coming down too easily. I like have a lot of aspects of my game that I want to be working, but like it's really hard to train and like drill it even right now. So it's like it's been not great. We're still 7 weeks out, so like I have time to turn it around, but as of now, it's not going very good. I don't feel too great about it. But I mean, you know, with that being said, like, you know, like you go into a tournament not feeling great sometimes and you do well, and you go in feeling great and you do shitty. So like, you know, I'm not like counting myself out. I like to stay real with myself. I'm not going to trick myself into thinking that I've been training super hard and then I'm super prepared when I'm actually not. Cause I feel like then you'll go in a little too confident. You might even like expect yourself to do too much if you're like telling yourself that, you know, and then you could shoot yourself in the foot by like over like exerting yourself when you probably shouldn't be, you know, or something like that. So
you think like strategy wise, based on how you may play a little bit of different type of game going in, I mean, maybe less aggressive or kind of pace yourself a little more?
Well, okay. So like, I'm going to have to play a different strategy, but I was kind of planning on playing a different strategy regardless, because like ADCC, like the Worlds is such a different tournament, you know? Like trials, like trials is one thing. Like trials is a bunch of guys, right? Like, and it's a lot of matches. But like ADCC is less matches, more likely to go longer. Like I think like 80% of ADCC matches go to arrest, or no, maybe not 80. I heard it's something crazy. It's a lot, and that's
a high number. Yeah.
So it's shorter. It's a less number of matches, but they're longer and they're a different pace and they're much harder. You know, like there's not too many guys like just racking up subs. Marcelo's the only guy, and Gordon, I guess. But like Marcelo's the only guy I know who just was like running through guys sub after sub after sub quick, you know. No, typically that doesn't happen. Like you look at JT has like probably like 90 minutes of mat time at ADCC, you know, and he fucking, you know, earns it. So like you know, the same strategy that I use for trials won't work for ADCC. So I was thinking, or I like am like knowing that I would have to alter my game already, but then, you know, knowing that I'm like, as of right now, I'm injured and I'm not in the best shape. I was like thinking, I was kind of adjusting accordingly, you know. Like you still have to be aggressive, like you still, because like the whole ADCC rule set is based on who's initiating action more. So like you still have to be super, super aggressive. But I'm not just going to be like putting myself in danger a whole lot. I think it's just about activity, you know, and, but yeah, but there's, you know, there's little things, that I can do to, kind of just make sure that I'm feeling good, you know, and that I, you know, and it's going to depend on bracketing too, you know, who knows, like, my strategy for one person is not the same as my strategy for another, you know? Yeah, so I think just kind of, there's a lot of factors, a lot of intangibles, you know, and we'll see who even makes it to the tournament. The bracket could look different. We could have a lot of dropouts or we could have no dropouts, you know? Mm-hmm. And, yeah, so it's like, it feels like it's really close, but I mean, it's still kind of far away. It's 7 weeks is a long time, you know, lot can change.
For sure. It's a lot of training time that you can get in when you compete. And you're right about that. Like the ADCC, like the championships is a way different animal. The ADCC trials is so much faster. I kind of enjoy watching the trials a bit more sometimes. Like the championship matches, they'll have some really good ones, but in a lot of cases, it's like guys they just try to stay active, but they don't go for the finish as much because they know the match is going to be longer. But then there's some times where you just have these amazing matches in the championships that, you know, are just like, just phenomenal, whatever. But with your strategy going into against a competitor, regardless of like the time limit, is there a way, like, is there something in particular you look at that sort of determines like your strategies against a person? Like, say, for instance, if I compete, I'll look at a guy and I'm like, I don't think I can take that guy down. Or if I do, it's going to waste a ton of energy to do it. So I think I'll probably pull and go for the sweep, right? Opposed to like, I think I can take that guy down. I'm going to play like the top game person first. Like that's kind of like one of the things that I'll determine. Is there anything that you look for in particular, or is it kind of just different person to person?
Yeah, definitely different person to person. And like you said, like some guys, like, you're going to be like, all right, well, I'm not going to play that guy's game against him, or I'm not going to, you know, overexert myself or something. If you're not like totally sure you can win in that realm or whatever. So yeah, so person to person, you know, I mean, there's a heavier emphasis in ADCC on like hand fighting that I don't think people realize, you know, like, I mean, if no one's scoring, they're going to look at like, who's winning the little things, like who's and like I said earlier, like the initiation is important, but like winning the small battles is just as important as like getting a takedown or a sweep, or you know, arguably way more important than throwing up a sub attempt, you know. So there's like little things. So like, you know, regardless of if I sit or if a guy sits or we're on the feet, like it's gonna be the little things first, you know, like you know, who gets inside position if they want, you know, who gets their grips, who elicits reactions, you know, and all that little stuff. I think it matters a lot more in this tournament than like we were talking about with the trials, you know. And it does, like you said, it does make the like Worlds kind of like less aesthetically pleasing,
Sure.
but it's just like if you can appreciate it, you know, it's pretty cool. But yeah, the trials generally are more a little more exciting, I guess, you know. And it's also just like the skill level goes up, so the likelihood of a submission or like, you know, significant like point scoring kind of goes down, you know. So yeah, there's just a lot of little things to be planned for, you know, and especially with specific guys, you know.
How did you feel like going into West Coast trials as opposed to some of the other trials? How did you feel? Or is there a difference in how you felt and a difference in your prep? Because you got second place numerous times and you finally got over the hump. Like is there something you can put your finger on that maybe was the difference maker for you? Because that was, I mean, a bigger tournament, still a lot of tough matches, but you know, you were kind of on a different level that tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I try to like scale like the silvers, you know, like there were some silvers that like that's as good as I could have done, you know. Like I was like I probably did just as good, but there was no way I was going to beat certain guys, like you know, like I don't think I was going to beat Nicky Ryan at that time. I don't think I was going to beat Ethan Krellinston at that time. So I think I did like just as good as I could do, right? And then these last two, I was like thinking to myself, I can actually definitely beat Cole Abate, and I can definitely beat Josh Cisneros, you know. But they were both like two tough guys. Like Cole is obviously very, very good, and Josh had in fact beat me before, so like I was like pretty aware of that. But I just had a little bit more belief in myself, and so it was like a little different. So yeah, I was like silver, but like in my mind, I was getting closer, you know. And I think that's important, but I think like, but I don't know, my general mindset was probably like, I don't know. It was kind of like, I put like a higher emphasis on like game planning and stuff and like knowing my opponents and like being prepared. I don't know. There was like little shifts, you know. I did a lot of things wrong before the West Coast too. And like, I definitely like did not focus on my weight as much as I should have. I had to cut like 12 pounds the day before. It was stupid. I like didn't plan my travel accordingly because like, I don't know. I like overestimate the airline's ability to stay on schedule.
Especially right now, bro. It's terrible.
Yeah. And also I overestimate my ability to cope with like, you know, general travel issues, or whether it's just like jet lag or like, I don't know what you'd consider. Because it was just from San Diego. I just traveled from San Diego to Vegas, but even still, it was like,
just being thrown like out of your routine, just like it sucks.
Yeah, for sure. And so like, and you know, I was I don't know, but I think I did a lot of things right. Also, like I do think that I just compete a bunch leading up to a big tournament, because it took me back to like wrestling, where you would have, you know, I don't know how it is where you guys are from, but in in California rather, it's like we do like, you know, you have all your in preseason or whatever, then you have like the postseason, which is like leading up to the state tournament. It's like you do like a league tournament, a city tournament. We have CIF, then Masters, then state. So that's like 4 tournaments before you get to the biggest one. So like, and you feel pretty in tune by then, you know? So I used to think like, all right, I'm going to get as many matches as possible before a tournament. And not really considering the fact that like, there were times that I went into like those tournaments feeling really exhausted and really burnt out because I was just getting too much mat time. We were working too hard. So for this one, I just kind of scaled it back. I competed once the week before, and I felt good, and I got a lot of mat time. This is a 15-minute match, which was great. And then the next week, I got on the mats, and I felt pretty good still. Like I wasn't burnt out. I wasn't like, I don't know. Yeah, I wasn't just like overly, you know, exhausted or just like it just mentally too. Like I wasn't like overly like annoyed with competing. I was like pretty eager to be there. You know, there's something to be said for like making yourself miss competition and like hungrier for the competition. You know, if you're just competing every week, you know, before for like a month or 2 months or whatever, right? Like it just it loses its like value or emotional weight. You know, you're kind of just like, oh, it's another one. You know, so I felt like that was a good idea. I was kind of impressed with myself for making. I pulled out of a few like high level events, which I never used to do. You know, just because not because I was like a little banged up, obviously, but like I just mentally like knew that if I'm traveling all over the country 3 or 4 weeks before this big tournament, then I'm not gonna do well. So that's something that I've adopted for this camp too, like planning my like comps kind of strategically. You know, like once or twice a month is enough. You know, and then before ADCC, like a month before. I mean, I'm cutting out the comps like 4 weeks before. You know, so. I think hopefully that helps me feel good, you know, still feel fresh, but also hungry and also, you know, have gotten that mat time. Like it's better than having not competed at all, you know, and since the trials or something, you know.
Right. And how old are you?
24.
24. Yeah, you're so young. So yeah, that's the thing. Like I was thinking about wrestling. I remember like when in high school we would have like you said, we would have all these meets and then it would go into the tournaments. And once the tournaments hit, like by the time we got to like the state tournament, if whoever made it, I mean, everybody was just done. We were like ready to be done with it. We're like, everybody's struggling to cut weight. They start giving the pound into our allowances. And, you know, you were happy for it to be over. And then, you know, usually it was like a couple weeks after you'd have time to recover. Then it was like, man, I miss wrestling. I want to go back and wrestle some more, you know? And I think it's a smart thing because it's the same. That's one of the things I noticed in jiu-jitsu as I got older. I would take more rest for competitions, especially if it was one that I wanted to try to win, so I could be more refreshed from it and be hungry for it. And for you, I'm curious the week of the competition, because this is something where I've seen guys do it wildly different. I'm more of a guy like I've grown to sort of like I'll drill, but I'll take the whole week off from rolling because I just want to be ready. But then I've also been around where I remember I rolled up into like I think it was a GF team practice when I was doing the pans one year. And like it's Wednesday, some guys are competing on Friday. And I mean, I thought they were just going to move around. These dudes were like throwing down. And I was like, oh shit, we're like going hard today. Okay. I wasn't mentally ready for this. It's like Wednesday. I thought we were just going to drill. How do you like the week of like, what do you focus on leading up to that day of the competition? Let's say the competition's on like Saturday. What do you do that week?
Yeah, that's so funny you say that too, because I went to a GF team practice before like a Nogi Worlds, I remember, and I was thinking like, oh, we'll do maybe some scrimmage, but like, you know, not like full rolls. Dude, it was like I had a world tournament 2 days before the Worlds. Like it was stupid. So it wasn't stupid. It was just different. It was different. I don't know how practical that is. I was like way younger. I was like 18 or 19, so I didn't really care. But now I'd be like, well, I would just be like, all right, you guys have fun with that. But no, like, yeah, so I typically try to scale it back. Like you said, I don't know if I'll drill the entire week. I'll probably spend like 2 days or 3 days before drilling. And then the earlier week, I'll probably roll still. Just because I feel like, maybe timing, maybe your body, like getting, you know, if you've been rolling for a while before, then you're probably fine anyways, you know, but I feel like if I don't roll for a little bit and then I roll just randomly, then my body hurts, isn't as used to it. Right. Like not even just like, you know, connecting all the synapses or whatever, like it's literally just my body hurts, you know, a little more. So I like try to move with like a good pace, you know, a few days before, and then I cut out. Now, this is something I've only recently started doing. I cut out the hard rolls about probably 2 days before, probably 3 days before. Yeah. And then I just move, drill. You know, if you got to cut the weight, you still got to move, you know. But nothing too crazy. I used to sometimes train hard on tournament days. I went to an open mat once, like, because I was competing on a Sunday, so we have every Sunday open mat's a pretty common thing. So like I go to the open mat and I roll, like I train really, really hard, And then I like went to the tournament later that day, and I remember just feeling so exhausted, and I was like, oh, it's probably because, you know, but yeah, so you know, I don't do that, and then you know, I am like trying to think about nutrition a lot more. That's not something I used to ever really do, and I probably should hire like a nutritionist or something. I've had people write out meal plans for me, which works, but it's like I know what's healthy and what's not healthy. Sure. Like I think, you know, once I start to like make some real money doing this, I'm probably going to invest in a nutritionist for like a big event like this. Like I was talking to Dante Leone. He's like having like basically like a you know, like remember like Dolce diet and like Lockhart, I forget what his thing was called, but they would like go with you the week of a tournament, or for most of their things it was MMA, but they would like cook for guys, and that's like what Dante's doing. I was like, oh shit, that's like really cool. They can like see you, you know, how you're feeling. Like I think that's just really cool. Obviously, that's like probably really expensive, so I'm gonna have to. I'm not in the place to do that yet, but
there's other ways to do it though, because I hired a nutrition I hired a nutrition coach about 2 years ago when I was trying to get down. I wanted to shed some weight, really just because I wanted to be like super lean, so I got a bodybuilder type guy to I hired him, and then I ended up doing the no-gi pans at a lower weight class for the first time in like 10 years or something. And it was pretty friggin' cool because I had cut weight before, back when I was fighting and stuff like that, and I always was fine with it. But this dude wrote out my diet plan and all this stuff. And I remember eating, and I lost like 14 pounds of like good solid weight. And like, I was never hungry. It was like, this doesn't make any sense. Right. But like, he was just giving me the foods that I needed. And then if like, for some reason, I remember at one point my weight dropped too low. I was like, hey bro, I need to like gain a couple pounds, because I'm at like 196 and I want to be 202. He was like having me eat Pop-Tarts with my last meal of the evening. And then sure enough, like I was like, when I stepped on the scale, I stepped on the scale right at 202. It was like, wow. Because the dude, because that's all he does. It's like bodybuilders know how to manipulate shit like that. And so if you can find a good guy like that, I mean, it can still be a fairly reasonable price. And especially like if you're someone like you, where you can say like, hey, like I'm going to use it. And like, I've brought my coach tons of business. So if you find a guy that you like and you're saying, listen, I'll use it, and if it works, I'll rep the shit out of it. It could be a good partnership. Now, he may not be able to cook for you, but if he could just give you a really solid diet plan and like do check-ins with you, like I would send the guy pictures every week, and he would check up where I was going, how I felt energy wise, what supplements are working, all that jazz. And it was probably some of the best money I've ever spent as far as getting ready for a competition, losing weight, and not feeling like shit doing it.
Yeah. That's interesting. No, that's super cool. And he like you said, he didn't like cook for you specifically. He like just gave you meals and you made them, and then you would just stay in touch with them.
Yeah, basically he sent me a plan, and basically it was like eat, and all the food was really simple. So it's like I was like, make it as simple as possible for me. So it was like, eat, like you get a food scale out, eat this much chicken, this much rice, this much potatoes or whatever. And for the next meal, eat this much. If you lift weights on this day, eat this much. And basically it was just like, I'm pretty much eating the same food almost every day, which is okay with me, 'cause I'm like, I just need to get fueled. But it was really simple. It was like, I was eating a ton of food. Even like one of my students who's like 50 years old, he just lost, like, he's been doing jiu-jitsu with us for about 10 years. And for his 50th birthday, he's now lighter than he's been since 1998. Wow. And again, it's one of those things where the guy had him on his diet, whatever. It was the same coach. And he was like, bro, he's like, I couldn't eat the amount of food he wanted me to eat to lose weight. So like, I just had to like get rid of meals because it was just so much volume. Because again, if you're eating like particular types of foods, it like, you can surprisingly eat a ton of food and not gain weight if it's the right kinds of stuff. So, but yeah, I would definitely do it. If weight's something you struggle with at all, man, like it's money well spent. And it's another one of those things that you can just take off your plate and be like, look, here's what I'm supposed to do. I don't have to think about this anymore. I can go back to focusing on my jiu-jitsu and everything else. Dude,
no, that's really good. And that's like what I'm like trying to invest in for this camp. So like, if you or anyone, I don't know if this is live right now or whatever, or anyone watching at any point, like has someone they could recommend me, that'd be great. Just because I don't really know anyone who does that. I've had like I've had just friends kind of like who are in the fitness industry do it for me, but but they have their own stuff going on and stuff.
I'll shoot you a message. I'll shoot you a message later after the podcast is over. I'll shoot you a message and try to hook you up.
That'd be great. Thanks, man. Yeah. That'd be awesome. It's just all the little things, bro, that like I like see the real pros do, and like I see it significantly improve their game. And like, that's just never something I've been in the financial position to do.
Sure.
At any point, or even like, I mean, like we maybe don't like openly recognize it, but like truly like clout is like a currency. So like the better you get, like the more people know about you, the like more you can leverage, like, oh, I can, rep your thing on my Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, Twitter, whatever. Right. And like that actually has value now, which is like not ever something that I like had because, I like it wasn't not a social media savant. It wasn't too successful competitively, and also didn't really understand networking, marketing, etc. So like as like that hopefully grows, like hopefully I could be in the position to like do stuff like that more. So hopefully that works out. Thank you, man.
You're welcome.
Well, what kind of things like do you feel like, is there other besides the training? I mean, you have to kind of like, there's all these other things to think about, travel, right? Food, all that. Is there something that like you feel is besides like the diet stuff? Is there something that you feel like is really hard with being like kind of a full-time athlete like you outside of just training jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, well, like general boredom. I mean, cause like, I don't know. I've just always been the type of person, like always want to be working, always want to be doing stuff, always want to be like, I don't know, just moving or whatever. But like you realize pretty quick, like doing this, it's like some days you're so tired and you just can't do shit. And you have to like let your body rest, but like that is so boring. Like I just, even if I'm super exhausted and I know this is a day I need to take off completely, like should probably just sit at home and watch TV. I kind of don't want to, like, it's like hard for me to do, and like, I'm used to just working normal jobs. Like just, I worked in food service for a long time. I, would work like multiple jobs, like whether it's just like coaching, teaching, coaching, doing privates, teaching or coaching wrestling, whatever. So I was just like kind of, and training, too. So like, I was just constantly going, and I didn't really feel it at all as a kid, but now I'm, starting to feel it a little bit more, nothing crazy, but definitely recognizing the importance of rest and stuff. And I don't know, I'm just like generally noticing that like, it's kind of a monotonous lifestyle. It's like, it's very cool. It's very, very fun. And it is great. In a lot of ways, but it's also just like, I don't know. And it's like I'm doing a lot more studying now, which like it can be pretty boring. Like I like watching jiu-jitsu, I like watching instructionals, but it's like not something I would like just, I don't know. If I didn't feel like I should or I had to, I probably wouldn't, Yeah. And like, so there's a lot of like general monotonous like aspect. Like it's like, you're like a kind of a pro athlete, like you have to stay disciplined and you can't just job. Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It is what it is, man. You're a pro athlete. It's a job.
Sure. Yeah. So that's a little bit different for me now to realize, especially like coming out of like college. I graduated like, almost 2 years ago now. And it was like an adjustment, like, just, like my parents wanted me to get a desk job and me working one for a little bit, but hating it. And like, it's like, man, if I'm going to be bored doing a desk job or doing this like athlete thing, and like, I'm going to feel way better about doing the jiu-jitsu thing. I think it's really, really cool. It's fun in so many ways. And yeah, you don't make very much money, but like, you enjoy the process a lot more. And there's something to be said for just like general happiness over material things and stuff.
Well, and you're also young too, man. Like, I mean, like you're 24. And so it's like, I feel like the trajectory for like someone making money in jiu-jitsu tends to be, not always, right? Because there's anomalies to it, tends to be a little slower, right? You know, because as you're kind of making your mark and you're gaining notoriety, gaining skills and stuff like that, it's a little different than like, say, like, all right, I've got this piece of paper, I've got out of college, give me a job where I can make some decent money. You probably start to like find a little bit more of a financial stride towards your like 30s. I remember going through the same shit. I was like, had my gym, I was 24 years old, and I was like, wasn't making any money, and like all my buddies are getting out of school and they all got nice stuff, you know, and like I'm like, damn it, like you guys got all the cool shit and I'm broke. And then I'm like, this is awful. But then it's like, flip the script, you know, now it's like 13 years later, I'll see those same people and they're so jealous because like, man, like you've got it made, bro. And I'm like, well, I didn't back then. Just like I had to like pay my dues a little bit differently than what you had to.
Sure. That's really funny. Yeah, that's pretty low. I didn't know that you opened a school so soon. You were 24?
Well, so I didn't open it. My coach left. So basically, my coach was his wife. She was moving to Mexico because she got this really good job down there working for a whiskey or alcohol producer out of Kentucky. So she moves down there, and basically she didn't want anything to do. She was done with the gym because it'd been 3 years. It wasn't turning much money out. And she's like, I'm done with this thing. So he moves away, and then me and my friend basically sort of take it up. He was a purple belt at the time. I was a brown belt. And so it was just like, either we run this thing or the gym's going to fall apart. There is going to be no more gym. And so we just sort of ran with it and sort of fell into my lap just by like happenstance. Cause I was like the next guy besides him, you know, and that's all.
That's pretty rad though. That's cool.
I was lucky.
That's probably a good way to do it, honestly, because then you don't have to go through the pain of like finding a space and permits and all that stuff. And you just kind of, I mean, that's pretty cool, I think. That's cool.
You said you did food service. What'd you do in food service?
So I worked fast food in high school. I worked at a place called In-N-Out. I don't know if you guys know In-N-Out.
May have heard of it a couple times. Yeah.
Every time.
It's apparently, it's well known, like on the West Coast, or, you know, it's well known, but it's, you know, West Coast burger place. So I did that.
All the East Coast people freak out about it when we go over there.
Right.
Yeah, I've noticed. Yeah. It's, I mean, it's good. I like a lot of the burger places that I've had on the East Coast better, frankly. But it was a cool place to work in high school. And then in college, I worked at my dad. He works at a fine dining restaurant. And so I was a busser. I was a busser there for like 2 summers, or like maybe like 2.5 or something. But I was doing that, and that was cool. And then I would go, and then when I was up in school, I'd go, like just find odd jobs and stuff. And, and like do just random like janitorial work or like work at my school. And then I was coaching wrestling and stuff. So that was fun. And then, right out of college, I worked at my friend's, fast food place. It's called Funky Fries and Burgers. It's they do like pretty outrageous, like burger and fried and shakes and stuff. And that was cool. And, I did that. And then that was my last like food service job, but I was doing kind of a lot of that, for like a few years. But it was fun. It's cool. It's like
jobs where like you're just always moving around. You seem like somebody that just can't sit still. Like you're always need to be doing something, right? And I've worked in the food service industry as well as a server. And it's like,
where'd you work at, Eugene?
I worked at Texas Roadhouse.
Did you really? I didn't realize that.
And I would have to watch people. I'll never forget this. People put ketchup on their steaks. That would not be an unregular occurrence. And then there's one guy who would come in. He'd drink his like beer through a straw every time. I was like, what is wrong? Yeah. And then I worked at California Pizza Kitchen, which is a little more, a little higher class, I guess. I don't know, but it's it's whatever. It's the same kind of. I just like the movement. I like kind of moving around, doing different shit. I think that was enjoyable for me. But also, like as a college kid, like it's like you don't work terribly long hours. You make pretty good money. Yeah. It was definitely fun. The only thing I didn't really like about it was you're indoors a lot, which kind of sucked.
So I was taking up I worked a lot as a valet in college, and that was super fun because I could like run around and be outside, you know, and I would always turn down like if they wanted me to work in a lot or sit in a booth, I'd always be like, no way. And that was like a really cool way to do it. But that's also tough when you're training, you know, so it was like, yeah, so it was kind of a trade-off, but like that was super fun. It's just like I like the activity of like a restaurant or like a just food service, because it's like a lot going on. It's cool, it's fast paced and stuff, or you know, generally just there's a lot to do. But like just being stuck indoors was brutal for me. That sucked for sure. That was like I would like my dad's like restaurant is like kind of on the water. It's like off a golf course. I would just like prop up after I had like finished setting or, you know, clearing the tables. I would just prop up and like look out onto the water, be like, that seems like it'd be really nice right now. And I'm stuck here, you know? So like, that was tough for sure. That was probably the toughest part, but you know, it's also like, that's like kind of character building, I feel like, you know?
Yeah. I remember the same feeling. I remember like, because I worked food service as well. I used to do, I worked in a restaurant, both bussed and served. And then we also did like some catering stuff. And I remember sometimes like during the summer, you know, because like the catering stuff was always in the weekends. And so sometimes I could get off for competition. Sometimes I couldn't. And I remember like on the times I couldn't, it would be the worst time working. And I'd be looking out, it'd be the summertime. And, you know, these people are having this beautiful wedding, whatever. Yeah. I'm looking out, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm trapped in a prison right now, you know, but
yeah, that is relatable. That's funny. Yeah, it sucks when you
can appreciate what you got though.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I mean, it's just I don't know. Things should be worse, you know, than getting paid to do something like that. Even though we're not at war, we're not in danger of dying. Like, that's right. You know. So yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Can you like explain kind of your process of like becoming a full-time athlete? Like that's, I mean, it's a pretty big risk, right? Like, I mean, even having a college degree and having parents that like sometimes, you know, some parents are very supportive and of course they're going to support you, but it's like, this is probably not, you know, the ideal scenario they would see for their kid. Right. And, what was the process like for you and, you know, just making that decision and moving into just taking grappling on full time?
Yeah, man, my parents were so against it. Like it was pretty like it was tough, man. Like some jiu-jitsu guys' parents like manage their career for them and like give them all the best training and supplements and all that stuff. My parents like were actively pushing against me doing grappling full time, you know, and like I understand, you know, I invested a lot of money into college. I'm quite in debt because of that, you know, and it doesn't really make sense to take a risk on something that like is not going to push me toward paying off my debt anytime soon. So in their eyes, like I get it, you know, and then just there's like general volatility is associated with an athletic career, you know. They like my dad is a sports fan. He's familiar enough with the concept of injuries and, you know, just things not panning out or whatever. So like, yeah, it was really hard. Like they're coming around to it now. I think maybe around like later last year when I was like starting to like travel a little more for competitions and like like I got hired at a gym. It doesn't exist anymore. But I got hired at a gym and I was getting paid like pretty good money considering I was just teaching jiu-jitsu. And they were like, oh, like you can actually get paid to teach. Like that's cool. And that seems consistent. That seems like something that like isn't just going to disappear. Like even if I were to get injured or something, like that's not something I can't feasibly do, you know? So that seemed that to them was like, okay, this is at least like a little bit of a job. And yeah, so like, so I was shifting from that. Like I was like, kind of like, you know, had like that voice in my head and my like outside my head as well that was telling me not to do this. But also like, I don't know, I might not be able to, I won't be able to do this forever. And like, if I'm going to take a shot at it, why not now? And if I fail, then I have plenty of resources to, like, I have my degree, and I have, you know, my mom works a normal job. She has like a law degree, and I think she does like public action or whatever. I don't know what it's called, but like, and then my dad still obviously works at the restaurant and stuff. So like, there's avenues. If I'm like were to just fail miserably at this, which as of right now, like, yeah, I fail a lot, but not catastrophically. At least, yeah. So I could definitely, you know, change things up at some point. But right now, it's like, man, I might as well just commit to this, especially if like I still have this burning desire to try to be the best, you know, like, man, you know, I never really have felt competitive about anything except for like jiu-jitsu. Like I like am just, I never really pushed myself much, you know, like when I was a kid, I did all these sports, and in school I was kind of unmotivated, you know, just didn't really care. And then I started martial arts, and I was like, whoa, like I can push myself at this. Like I can see improvements, and I can get better and see my life improve because I put a lot of effort into this thing. And like, that's just so rewarding. So like that feeling alone is like something that I'll probably pursue for a while. And I'm happy kind of sacrificing a lot for, you know, and yeah. And hopefully, you know, hopefully someday I'll hit kind of that like little big break or whatever, you know, and things will kind of stop being as, you know, like you know, it's always gonna be challenging, but
it's tight. Money's tight. It's like it just is what it is, you know. But I mean, I think you're doing the right thing, because you only get your 20s once, you know, and you'll blink, bro, and it'll be like, oh shit, I'm almost 40, right? It's like, where the hell did like all those years go? So I mean, it's the smart thing to do, because you wouldn't want to look back on this and say, man, I could have done something with this, and I never like saw it through. And then like, you'll probably look back at this when, you know, money is a little bit more plentiful and life's a little bit more comfortable, going, damn, those were some pretty fun times. You know, it's always like that, you know, with the challenging stuff.
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure.
What got you into like, you know, you kind of mentioned wrestling and just doing some team sports, and what initially got you into wrestling, and then what got you into the jiu-jitsu? Because I think jiu-jitsu wasn't your first martial art that you started. I think you did a little boxing, right?
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. You know that. Yeah. Well, like, I don't know. There, like I talked about, the individual aspect of it was like cool. Like it was something that I didn't have to rely on other people. It's like what most people say about, like, you know, individual sports. It's like, you don't have to rely on a team. You don't have to worry about, like, man, I was so bad at team sports. I would hardly ever touch the ball. I would hardly ever get on the field, or like, you know,
how big are you?
I'm like 165 pounds. Like I'm like 5'7", 5'8". So I'm not like,
don't really,
yeah. I mean, and even the ones, and I was like a bigger kid. I was like, granted, I was a lot chunkier, but like I was a decently sized kid, but I just like wasn't, I don't know, I just didn't do it for me. And I just like had trouble staying motivated for like, even for any sport that like involved kicking a ball or throwing a ball or, you know, something like that. It just didn't carry much value to me. So like once I started the boxing thing, which I thought was so cool. I was just like, this is like a practical skill, and it's something that like I don't have to rely on other people for. You know, and like it just, I don't know, and that got me in really good shape. Like I was such a chubby kid, and I had no confidence, and I was really weird, and like it was really I was very, very strange. And like it gave me, and the team sports thing didn't really help me because no one wanted to be my friend because I was so weird. So like I was backed into a corner. But like the boxing thing gave me a little bit of confidence. It got me in shape. I got like, you know, used to like the just like the idea of physical improvement, you know, which was kind of like foreign to like just like a fat kid who loved Oreos. And yeah, so that was that. And then, you know, inevitably once you start training boxing, and I trained in like an MMA gym, I started to see the guys train MMA, and I was like, okay, I like that. I'll check out MMA. I look at UFC 1, and I'm like, oh, the Jiu-Jitsu guy won. Duh, that makes sense. Like, it made sense to me. Even though it was like weird to watch, it definitely made sense. And so I was like, okay, I should probably know that. And so then I started to like I think I probably did a little bit of wrestling first, just because it was the link between like the stand-up and the you know, the like ground and stuff. And then I started to like delve into the like the jiu-jitsu side of things. And like, I thought it was just all so cool. Like I've never felt so like excited and fascinated by a sport and by like a hobby or whatever. So I just really enjoyed it. And then I don't know. And then it was like something that I was actually starting to get pretty good at. Like, I wasn't very like successful competitive. I competed when I was a kid, but I was pretty trash. I probably didn't win a match like ever when I was a kid, or, you know, when I was like in my like teens or whatever. And then when I was like, you know, starting to wrestle too, I wasn't very good. I was okay because I had like at least trained a little bit. But then like I started to get pretty good. Like my like senior year, I was like actually doing pretty well, and I was like starting to go on like a winning streak and like winning big tournaments and getting some notoriety from like my school and the teachers and stuff. And I was like, whoa, like this weird fringe sport, you know, can actually like garner you some respect from people, which is, I thought was crazy, because I typically looked at it as something that like no one really would understand or care about, you know? And that was just like, okay, wow, cool. So I was planning on maybe wrestling in college too. But then I kind of like just talked to a lot of the guys, and I saw how miserable they were. And I saw some guys that were so good at wrestling, but they didn't even wrestle in college, because they were burnt out on it. I was like, that doesn't seem like a smart long-term play. So I focused on the jiu-jitsu, and also I got to see like Boogie and PJ and Gio like being really successful at jiu-jitsu and like kind of creating like a future for themselves through jiu-jitsu. And so I was like, whoa, maybe that's like a smarter way to do it. And I loved competing. So like, I just started to compete a lot, just like how I did in wrestling. And I was doing that in college, and I like rarely did normal college things. I was just training a lot and competing as much as I could. And I liked that so much more. So I stuck with it. And then just gradually, you know, bigger opportunities came. And I remember the first time that I saw you two actually was at the East Coast Trials.
In 2018.
Yeah, I don't remember if you remember, but you probably don't remember me. But I remember seeing you in at the tournament, obviously, and being like, oh my god, like it was crazy seeing so many good grapplers at a tournament, and especially like I'm in the smallest weight class, so like the heaviest guys, I was like, oh my god, like this is just nuts. And then you got third that day, right?
I got third. Yeah, lost to Spriggs in the semis.
Spriggs, yeah.
He got a beautiful it was so funny, man. I got in that match, and like I'd gone against Spriggs before and went to a decision. And so I was like, all right, like I'm gonna try to play this one smart, like because I didn't even train for that tournament. I was just like, let's just do it and we'll see what happens. Yeah, kind of going back to what you said earlier, where you're like, sometimes you don't train for the tournaments, you go out there and do great. And I went out there and I was like, I'm going to try to play the rest of the matches. I was just trying to kill people. I was trying to get the submission.
I remember you killing it.
And then like I go against Spriggs, I'm going to play smart. And then he gets a beautiful like air, like flying guillotine on me. I was like, son of a bitch.
It's so weird because he does that. He did that at ADCC. He does that at like, that's like his like one submission I've ever seen him hit. But he's so good at it. And but I remember seeing you. I remember even seeing you in the pizza place. After the event.
Because we ran into all the 10th Planet guys at the pizza place.
I was in that group. And I remember thinking like, dude, it was just so badass. Like that was my first taste of like high level jiu-jitsu, really, you know, like I just thought that was really cool. So then like kind of things just like kick-started a little bit, or just like, you know, maybe didn't kickstart, but just kind of really, really up the momentum and stuff. So that was super cool. Are you from Jersey, or how did you because that was like a tournament. I just remember being like, this is so weird just going to a random place in Jersey. And like I don't know, all these high level grapplers came here. Did you drive or something, or did you
No, I flew up there.
there?
So we got a
Okay.
little Airbnb in Jersey, and then me and two of my students came up there. And so you know, we made a trip of it because the trials was going on, and you know, they were talking about it. And I remember I was like kind of on the fence about it. I just did noogie pans, and then one of my students was like, dude, don't be a bitch, go do it. I was like, all right, let's go do it. And so I went out there and did it, and it was like, you know, it went all right for me. Yeah, it was a fun tournament though.
You did great.
Yeah.
Man. We were watching. We were all back home watching. It was like, holy crap. You know, and some tough dudes. You want to get some tough dudes, and it was just like 5 matches, 6 matches. I think I
think it was 6.
Long day,
total.
man.
It was 6 total. Yeah, it was a long day.
Yeah.
But
that was when it was the 1-day tournament too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. I feel like I got beat. I got hit like a car wreck because luckily most of my matches didn't make it to the decision. But like I remember my match with Devontae went to like overtime, and like, you know, like all these guys in there, like some of the guys I went against were much younger than me. I'm like, man, if it wasn't for the fact, because like, you know, most jiu-jitsu tournaments, they just run you the next one. Like as soon as you're done off the mat, they're like, and next, come in, you know. But we're like the ADCC, we had a nice long 45-minute or so break.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that, like that match after Devontae, I wouldn't have been able to continue going on. My old ass was tired.
No, that's funny. Yeah, that was different. That was cool. I'm glad we're not going back to that, because that was tough.
Yeah.
But it was cool. Super cool.
It's so interesting. So like listening to your story is kind of interesting because I was a fat kid that liked Oreos. And then
really?
And I was a super nerd. Like I used to like network computers and do all that shit back before it was like normal and cool and made money. And so basically in high school, it made you kind of a pariah that nobody wanted to hang out with. And then I got into wrestling, sucked at wrestling at first, but I really liked it. And then by the time I was a senior in high school, I finally caught my stride. And then it was like, oh man, I got to keep doing this stuff. And that's what led me to just, it's funny to hear that story. But do you think that ADCC that you're talking about, the 2018, do you think that was one of the first times where you felt like maybe I kind of belong, or maybe I kind of like have a shot at doing this stuff a little bit more at a higher level than maybe you thought?
Well, yeah, that was way sooner than I thought I was gonna be able to like compete at a fairly high level. Like I was just like, oh shit, like I was a brown belt, but I wasn't like a good brown belt. I was like an average brown belt, but I was like, oh shit, like this is way sooner than I thought. I thought it was gonna be well into black belt, that I was, you know, gonna reach like the podium at the trials, you know. And so it just like kind of accelerated my like a little bit of my belief in myself. And it's funny because like I do remember like shortly after that thinking like, oh man, maybe I'm really good. And then I went to a tournament, and it was like not like obviously not as hard as the trials, but I just like kind of like got my ass kicked, and I was like, oh shit, okay, I'm not that good. I like and that's like I said, like looking back on it, scaling it, like I did as good as I possibly could have done that day, you know. And that was kind of my ceiling, you know, at that time at least. And so like, it's not something you realize at the time, but you can kind of like look back and like I said, scale it a little, and like, so that just like changed perspective, you know. It was like, okay, it's sooner than I kind of thought things were going to, like kick off a little bit, you know. And it was still like, you know, it wasn't like anything crazy. After that, my life didn't drastically change or anything, but like, it was encouraging, you know. Yeah, absolutely. Planted the seed for sure.
That's right. With your training, how do you like to structure it? Like, just do you like to focus on like a specific set of moves, like your A game, or you just kind of wing it? And do you like to roll with like, do you try to get all the toughest rolls in the gym, or do you try to like sort of mix in some of the tougher rolls with some of the easier rolls so you can try stuff? Like, how do you like to structure your training just on average? It doesn't have to be specifically for competition, but just in general.
Well, generally I like to just roll as much as I can, you know. And I won't really put an emphasis on any set of techniques or style that I'm rolling with or whatever. I'll just roll as much as I can, and like with whoever, you know. But like if I'm like thinking and I'm starting to be serious and I'm just like, yeah, like just thinking what the smartest thing to do is, I usually try to like, get my drills in, actively think about what I'm drilling and what I need to work on. Maybe drilling some of my A reps, and then like getting my B and C game going too, and just kind of like getting reps there. And then in training, when I'm going against if I'm training with the good guys, like focusing on my A game. If I'm going against like, not as good guys, go to my B and C reps,
Mhm.
And yeah, but I mean, but I don't like to train. Sorry, there's bugs out here. I don't like to train like hard more than once a day. Like I don't like to roll hard more than once a day now. And sometimes, sometimes I won't even go hard. Sometimes I'll just kind of drill. Which is not anything I used to do. I used to just basically just roll. Wouldn't, my boogie would make me drill in class, but like I didn't like think about it. I wasn't actively, participating really. It was just like kind of do it, talk, and then roll a bunch. And now it's like more so like active drilling, like thinking about my game and like, trying to get my partner to give me certain reactions and stuff. And, and then when I'm having a move done to me too, like thinking about reactions as well and giving them those same reactions. So anyway, so a lot more just like, I don't know, just a lot more like thought going into training now as opposed to like I used to just love rolling and I still do, but it's not as feasible, So
Sure.
Yeah. So I don't know. Is there a certain formula you guys follow at your gym? Do you have like you do just warm up, drill, roll, or do you have like different?
I mean, it depends. Like, so for instance, like it depends on what we're doing. Like right now we just started like working on like we were doing like mount offense for like about 3 weeks. And then we're starting with the defense now for the bulk of the main classes, because there's always other stuff going on. The other day, I just had the guys like we did situational rolls from mount because I wanted to see like what guys were doing so I could target a few things with like their frames and how they were escaping and stuff like that. And then we're working on the escapes. I don't do a hardcore warm up anymore. Like I basically do either like a jiu-jitsu based drill, like an actual just movement drill, like technique drills, or just get in right into the technique and we'll focus on that. And then I tend to like having some situational rolls like targeted for whatever we just got done doing, because a lot of times if I'm trying to get guys to use stuff, if I just let them go, then we don't ever get into those positions to actually try it out and develop it. So we'll do some situational rounds and then we kind of progress into like a full rolls. If we're going to do full rolling, some days it'll be all situational. Some days it's full rolls. Some days it'll be like all drilling. Some days it's just all rolling. So it just depends on the day.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Positional stuff is really I think important, and even like I coach like one class a week, and I'm always like if we work a position, we're going to start from that position just to at least get people a little bit of live movement, live reactions, because obviously if you're drilling, you're expecting a certain reaction or giving a certain reaction. So at least seeing kind of the different variables of what'll pop up, and I think it just helps solidify some of the concepts in some ways. But like, with you being pretty experienced, being a black belt, training at a high level for a long, you kind of integrate a lot of that stuff through rolling and just, even your own drilling. So I think that class structure is a lot more valuable for some more, earlier belts and younger practitioners for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, and I realized as like when I was teaching like full time in a school, it's like kind of hard to structure class for just a bigger group of people because everyone's needs are so different. And so like, I like if a class isn't kind of ran the exact way that I like would prefer it would be ran that day for like my own training, then I'll kind of like adjust it accordingly, and like, that wasn't really something I used to ever do too. But it's not easy like creating a curriculum or creating a class structure or anything, because it's tough. I don't know. Yeah.
What's it? I was going to ask you, training with Richie Martinez, like he's very different. He's very unique build, very unique body. His game's different. You're like a shorter competitor. And like, what's it like, having him as a coach and also learning from him? How do you adapt some of the, maybe even the concepts that he shows into your jiu-jitsu?
Well, yeah, I mean, our games are fairly different. I mean, I have a lot of elements of his front headlock series. Like, that's something that I got directly from him that applied. Also from wrestling too, that I kind of took into. I was crushing it with darces and stuff when I was a blue belt, and even a little bit in purple and stuff. And that was something I really took from his game. But I don't know, obviously from any instructor, you're not going to take everything from what they teach. You pick out the things that you do you implement those, and you add those to your game, and but I think the thing that Boogie does so well that I've always appreciated, and I'll always kind of stay close to him because he's a very good leader. He's just he rallies the troops so well. His classes are constantly filled with people because he gets people motivated, and he has such a great energy and positivity, and that really helps just gym morale and stuff, which is good. Because it can be jiu-jitsu can be fairly monotonous and I don't know, just maybe boring to after a while, yeah, right. So anyways, so doing that or having him rather as that person is pretty cool, and it helps a lot, and it aids to my development, even just if it's not coming directly from the techniques, if it's just picking up one or two things and then just having the mat time and just being in that room, it's good. So yeah, I mean, I always tell people even if you don't really add a move to your game or remember a technique, just the mat time itself is really valuable. Just being on the mats day after day is super important.
So who did you get, just a sort of a thought on that, because you're saying that your styles are very different. Where did you get your game obviously is continuously developing, so it's obviously not static, but I imagine by now you're probably going to have at least some semblance of the jiu-jitsu style that you're going to have. Did you just sort of stumble upon different techniques that seemed to work for you? Was some of it intentional? Did you take techniques from one coach or another, or kind of, was there any particular process, or was it just sort of by random?
Well, initially I would just kind of emulate people in my gym, it was Boogie, Gio, PJ. PJ was a big one because he was a wrestler, and that vibed really well with my game because I also came from wrestling. Wasn't nearly as good as him, but I could at least take a lot of the things that he did and apply them to my game. And he helped me a lot with all my passing too, which was huge. But what I think I did fairly well as a younger person is I watched a lot of guys. I was pretty on the scene, or pretty I would stay kind of up to date with what was happening. So I noticed trends a lot quicker than most people would, someone who didn't watch jiu-jitsu. So I was watching what the DDS guys were doing. Initially it was all leg locks, right? I was okay, they're crushing it with leg locks. So learn leg locks. And then it was back takes. I was okay, they're crushing it with back takes, get good on the back. And then it was, and alongside that was EBI, they were doing really well in EBI rules events. And then after that, it was I think they were starting to get into Gordon was getting into passing and top pressure and stuff. And now he's working his pinning system and stuff. And so I kind of followed along their progress, and I not even just them, but just everyone too. That seemed to be the general trend of the top, especially the top sub only guys, and and I just noticed that. And then kind of just started to blend that into my game as well, and hey, oh, no problem. Anyways, so just that was really huge. I don't know. I mean, PJ was a huge influence, and because he was a wrestler who could leg lock, which worked really well for me. Those are just two aspects of my game that I was just thought made sense, and he helped me a lot with that. And then Boogie added a lot with my headlock game. Gio as well. Gio, just like a lot of his guard was like really helpful to me, because he worked a lot of reverse De La Rivas and De La Rivas and like no-gi guards that I had never really seen. I didn't know what a De La Riva hook was until like brown belt. I just did what Gio was doing, and and then I started to kind of piece it together from there. But yeah, just I think like anyone, it's like all your training partners and coaches and influences,
Sure.
Just whatever this happening in the scene too,
Just like wrapping it up, man, just, you say you're still kind of trying to get the training camp on track. Do you feel like being 7 weeks out, you still feel like there's some things you can focus on, start to kind of get things moving in the right direction? Do you feel kind of like pretty confident that you can get there, get your weight down, all that stuff?
I do. I mean, there's like 7 weeks is plenty of time to turn things around. It's dependent on me getting healthy. It's dependent on me being able to live train is huge. Like, I think you need to go live in jiu-jitsu before you compete. Like, I don't think there's any way around that. Maybe short term you can get away with it, but long term, like, and especially for an event like this, if you got to be on it, like your jiu-jitsu cardio needs to be on point. Your wrestling cardio, like, all needs to be on point. So like, that's going to be really big for me. But I think I'll get there. And then, the, weight thing it's coming down. It's just slow, and I was traveling. So it was like it's hard to stay on any sort of diet when you're traveling. Sure. I think there's time. I'm like, as it stands right now, I couldn't walk into ADCC right now and do well. I would get creamed, but like, come September, I mean, I'm not going to say I can't win it. I think I can. Like, I think anyone can, really. So for me to exclude myself from that group would be silly. Yeah, man, I mean, I definitely, I think we can get there.
Nice, dude. Well, good luck to it, man. I hope you do well coming up for the competition. This will be what you competed in the ADCC back in 2019?
2019, yeah.
2019. Yeah. So it's several years since then, bros. So I hope you do well. For anybody listening that wants to sort of like check, like follow up with you or see what you're up to, where's the best place for them to find you?
Instagram is probably the best place. It's just my name, Keith Krikorian. And then I also have a Patreon page where I teach I post techniques and rolling footage and drill sessions and highlights and random stuff. So if anyone listening has an interest in that really helps actually like kind of fund my camp and stuff. And it's something that I enjoy doing and I put a lot of effort into, and hopefully I'll definitely keep it going after ADCC, but nice. For sure right now it helps a lot. So that would be great. So those are two spots you can catch up with me on.
Yeah, we'll add that in the show notes below so people can kind of get to it.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. I wanted to ask you, man, how to feel to win the trials? How to feel?
Felt really good, man. Yeah, it felt really good. Yeah, it was just, I don't know. It's like looking back on it now, it's like, all right, like I recognize it's not the hardest tournament in the world, but when you're in it, it feels like it. It certainly feels like it. Like, it's a really hard tournament. It's a long, grueling tournament. There's a lot of mental battles, physical as well as a physical. It's such a challenging rule set. I don't know. It was like so nice, especially to like take the path that I took, because, I truly think I think I had the hardest route in the whole tournament. Like, I think that, all the guys I went against were pretty close to top tier, and and a lot of them had beat me before. The last two guys that I went against had wins over me. So, like I had to kind of fight through that mental battle, and it just made things a lot, and just, obviously the fact that I had come so close, previous times, just getting second, through like 3 trials in a row was like pretty. That's like, you don't want to be that guy, you don't want to think of yourself as the almost guy, so like to say that I'm not that guy is cool,
You're
to tell myself that at
you might
least.
be too young, but like, do you remember the Buffalo Bills of the '90s? Like they went against the they went against the Cowboys in the Super Bowl for like 3 years in a row and lost every single time.
Oh, brutal.
So you're not them. You're not the Buffalo Bills. Congrats.
Okay, yeah, nice. That's funny.
Man,
that sounds like a reference.
On, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate honesty too. Like, I mean, you seem like a very humble person, and you know, it's kind of refreshing to hear that. You know, like I think you're real with yourself. I also think you probably don't give yourself enough credit, man. You achieved something pretty incredible. ADCC Trials, getting second place is huge. But I mean, winning it, and that was probably the biggest ADCC they've had. I mean, that was cool. It's fun to watch. You beat some really tough dudes, man, and I'm excited to see you in the Worlds.
Oh, thank you guys. Yeah, thanks for working with me on making this happen, and no, appreciate it. It's great to meet you both.
All right, guys. So hopefully you enjoyed that podcast with Keith. I listening to him talk, I was like, man, there's so many similarities as far as like the path. I was like, I was a fat kid eating Oreos. And I was super weird in high school too.
I wonder what he was weird about, like how he was weird. But like kids always say that other kids are weird. If you know, I don't know. I'm just curious as to why
right. I mean, when it comes down to it, we're all friggin' super weird.
We are, and I think some of the people that are quote unquote weird are like the people that do something unique with their lives and kind of like do something outside of the box. So I think
well, I feel like I use that term weird almost endearingly. I was like, I usually like weird people.
Yeah. I think there's definitely a different view of the term weird now. I think it's unique. You can say unique.
But guys, thank you so much for being here with us this week. If you guys want to support the podcast, you can do so by checking out our sponsors. charlottesweb.com. Promo code is Jiu-Jitsu20 for 20% off the order. Again, pick out a CBD product, try it out, see what you think if you've never used CBD before. And if you've used CBD before and you'd like to get some from a really reputable company that has all their products third-party tested, check them out. charlottesweb.com. Promo code is Jiu-Jitsu20. Epic Roll, if you guys are in the market for some new gis, rash guards, shorts, or just some general jiu-jitsu t-shirts and stuff to wear, you can check out Epic Roll. Matt makes high-quality stuff with really good designs. And it's at epicrollbjj.com, and the promo code for the order is 15% off with Jiu-Jitsu. And also thanks to our sponsor, Manscaped. You can check them out at manscaped.com. Promo code is Jiu-Jitsu20 for 20% off the order, and you get free shipping. It's a good deal. Again, I've used all their products that they've had pretty much except for like maybe I haven't used their nail clippers. Everything else I've used, and it's all been high quality stuff. They've got a great trimmer. I use it from my beard down to my balls, and Eugene uses it up on his head too. So again, for whatever that's worth to you.
Yeah.
But again, it's a good trimmer. Everything smells good that they make. Check them out at manscaped.com. Promo code is Jiu-Jitsu20.
The boxers are excellent. I love their boxers, by the way. They're really good.
They're comfy.
Yeah.
And guys, if you want to support the podcast directly, you can do so by going to patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. And you can get access to multiple years of exclusive content from the podcast and from me and Eugene directly from some of our other videos that we make. Like, you know, he does rehab and like prehab type stuff for jiu-jitsu. I teach techniques and do rolling type stuff, and some of that's in there as well. And you get access to all of it for an affordable price at the Patreon. And if you guys want to join my Chew Crew email newsletter, you can do so and get my daily email sent to you by joining up at my website at chewjitsu.net/join, JOIN. You get 3 free ebooks for joining, get my daily newsletter, and then at that point, you can unsubscribe at any time and keep the ebooks. They're all yours. So, guys, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you, and we'll look forward to talking with you next week.